Hello viewers, in today's video we will be discussing how the government works in Pakistan and how powers are distributed between the central government and the provinces. We will start with the salient feature of Pakistan's government system. These are displayed on the screen. So these include the federalism. Pakistan is a federal republic, not a unitary state. So the constitution distributes power between the federal government and the provincial governments. In Pakistan, there are three tiers of government, including the federal government, the provincial government, and the local governments. The third feature is that Pakistan is a parliamentary democracy, which means that the executive is a creation of the parliament or the legislature and is also responsible to it. And the legislatures in Pakistan at all levels are popularly elected. Coming to the basic legal documents, there are four basic legal documents which define how the Pakistani government works, and this includes also the provincial governments. First is the Constitution of Pakistan, 1973. Number two, Rules of Business, 1973 for the federal government. Third, provincials have their own rules of business. And finally, there are local government acts which define how the local governments work. We will first discuss the constitutional provisions. But before we proceed, you are requested to kindly like, share and subscribe to my channel CSS Preparations. The Article 1, the first article of the Constitution of Pakistan defines federalism. So it says that Pakistan shall be a federal republic comprising four provinces, that is Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Punjab and Sindh, and the Islamabad Capital Territory. So this is what the Federal Republic of Pakistan includes. So executive and legislative powers are distributed between the center or the federation and the provinces. At the center or at the federal level, there is bicameral legislature which comprises two houses, National Assembly, the lower house of parliament, and Senate, the upper house of parliament. National Assembly is elected for a 5-year term and it represents the popular or democratic principle because it is directly elected by the people. Senate represents the federal principle in Pakistan, and all the four provinces, regardless of their population, have equal representation in the Senate. The members of the Senate are indirectly elected by the members of the provincial assembly concerned. For example, the senators from Punjab provinces are elected by the members of the Punjab assembly, and the same goes for other provinces. The Senate as a whole is never dissolved. The members of the Senate are elected for 6 years each, and they retire after 3 years, and then a new members come and the Senate is reconstituted. But Senate as a whole is never dissolved. The executive authority of the Federation extends to the matters on which Parliament has the power to make laws. So, on whatever matter, on whatever domain, the Parliament or the federal legislature is competent to make law. So that defines the executive authority of the Federation. And these legislative powers of Parliament have been described in the Federal Legislative List, which is mentioned in the 4th schedule of the Constitution. And the rest of the powers fall in the legislative competence of the provinces. So in the Constitution of Pakistan, at present there is only one legislative list, that is the Federal Legislative List, and whatever is not mentioned in the Federal Legislative List belongs to the provinces. So this gives a lot of autonomy to the provinces in Pakistan and made Pakistan a strong federation. Before the passage of the 18th Amendment in 2010, there were two lists in Pakistan. One was the federal legislative list and the second was the concurrent legislative list, on which both the federal government and the provinces were competent to make laws. But the 18th Amendment scrapped the concurrent legislative list, leaving now only with the federal legislative list. The Constitution also defines the federal government, which comprises Prime Minister and federal ministers. Prime Minister is the chief executive of the country and he is assisted by the federal ministers. So please note that Minister of State, Advisor and Special Assistants to Prime Minister, they are not part of the federal government or the federal cabinet. Only the Prime Minister and the federal ministers are part of the federal government or the federal cabinet. Likewise, executive authority of a province is exercised by the provincial government or provincial cabinet, which comprises chief minister as the head of the cabinet or the head of the government and the provincial ministers. Provinces, there is only one legislative house or legislative assembly. That is why provinces are called unicameral legislature. And each provincial assembly is elected for 5 years. And the provincial executive, like the federal executive, is responsible to the legislature. Now we'll come to the important issue or matter of the distribution of powers between the federal and the provincial governments. So the Constitution distributes 3 types of power between the federal government and the provincial governments, and these are executive powers, financial powers and the legislative powers. We start with the distribution of legislative powers. Parliament can make law for whole of Pakistan on any matter which is mentioned in the federal legislative list, and provincial assembly can make law for the province concerned on any matter which is not mentioned in the federal legislative list. And for example, if in case there is a conflict between a federal law and a provincial law, then the federal law shall prevail. Parliament can make law for the whole of Pakistan on federal legislative list. This has already been defined. Executive powers of the federation stem from its legislative powers, and the same goes for the provinces. Executive authority of every province shall be so exercised as to secure compliance with the federal laws which apply in that province. So this is a restriction on the power of the provinces, and this provision somewhat dilutes the autonomy of the provinces. And it is also mentioned in the Constitution that the federal government shall protect every province against external aggression and internal disturbance, and to ensure that the government of every province is carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. So this is the responsibility of the federal government, but in fact this is also a big power of federal government, and using this power the federal government can interfere in provincial matters. Federal government is also empowered to issue direction to the provinces. For example, to ensure that the executive authority of the province is exercised as not to impede the exercise of the executive authority of the federation, to prevent any grave menace to the peace or tranquility or economic life of Pakistan, and construction and maintenance of the means of communications. Again, this is a restriction on the power of the provinces. Now, there may be some matters that arise, contentious matters between the central government and the federal and the provincial government. So for this purpose is the Constitution sets up different institutions. One of the most important of those institutions is the Council of Common Interest, which is generally called CCI. It is headed by the Prime Minister, and it also includes the 4 chief ministers. Its mandate is to formulate and regulate policies on matters which are mentioned in Part 2 of the Federal Legislative List. And these matters which are mentioned in Part 2 of the Federal Legislative List, an illustrative list, which means that some examples of those matters are shown on the screen, which you can see. So if there is any matter which involves any of these subjects like railways or interprovincial coordination or national economic planning, the matter is debated first by the Council of Common Interest and then any law can be made. An important subject is the distribution of financial powers between the federal government and the provinces. In Pakistan, most of the taxes are levied by the federal government, which includes the income tax other than the agriculture income tax, which is in the domain of the provinces, sales tax on goods, export duties, federal excise duties and import duties. The rest of the taxes are levied by the provinces or local governments. But as you can see, almost all the important taxes are imposed by the federal government. Now, in order to distribute financial resources and to sort out other matters between federal government and the provinces, which are financial matters, the Constitution set up National Finance Commission, which is headed by the Federal Finance Minister and includes the 4 provincial finance ministers. So, one of the contributions of the National Finance Commission is the announcement of National Finance Commission Award, which is announced from time to time. The last NFC award, which is the 7th NFC award, was announced in 2010. So basically it describes how the federal government's taxes or the tax proceeds will be distributed between the federal government on the one hand and the provinces on the other hand. So as you can see on the screen, this is the current distribution of financial resources between the federal government and the provinces. And these resources come from the divisible pool. I mean, the divisible pool consists of the proceeds which federal government earn when it imposes federal taxes like income tax or sales tax or import duties. So the federal government share in divisible pool is 42.5%, and the rest of the share, that is 57.5%, goes to the provinces. And this share is further distributed among the provinces. As you can see, Punjab has the highest share because it is the most populated country, and Balochistan has the lowest share because it is the least populated country in Pakistan. Now we come to the local government. So there is only one article in the Constitution which is about the local governments, and that is Article 140. So the article says that each province shall by law establish a local government system and devolve political, administrative and financial responsibility and authority to the elected representatives of the local governments. So now this wording is very significant. First, it made it necessary for each province to set up a local government according to a law by enacting a local government law, which will be enacted by the Provincial Assembly. However, what will be the content of the law and how much power will local governments enjoy in a province, that shall be decided by the provincial government or the Provincial Assembly concerned. So it can be more powers for the local government or there can be less power for the local government, but everything has been left to the discretion of the provinces. So it means that local governments in Pakistan doesn't have any constitutional powers. The only reference to the local governments is in Article 140 of the Constitution, which I have mentioned. I trust you like this video and it was informative. I will request you to kindly subscribe to my channel CSS Preparation so that I may share more such informative videos for you. Thank you for your time.